Welcome back to another episode of Explore Taiwan. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sophia. If you've been following our channel, you know we love to look at the funny, vibrant side of daily life here. But today, we wanted to take a seat, slow down, and have a much deeper conversation.
Yeah, we really wanted to step away from the jokes today. We're exploring a beautiful, complex topic that we're calling Finding the Shape of Home. We want to look at the emotional and psychological transformation that long-term expats go through when they decide to truly plant roots in Taiwan.
Exactly. It's about how this island changes a person from the inside out. And to understand that transformation, I think we have to start with the courage it takes to just try and build something here. When you look at the expat community, we see these incredibly brave individuals opening independent coffee shops, artisanal bakeries, or making digital content. But, behind those bright storefronts, there is usually a lot of hidden anxiety and risk.
Oh, without a doubt. Imagine moving halfway across the world, leaving your entire support system behind, and betting all your savings on a business in a country where you might not even speak the language fluently. That entrepreneurial journey is filled with immense vulnerability.
Yes, entrepreneurial journey. For our listeners learning English, your entrepreneurial journey is the complete, long-term experience of starting, owning, and running your own business from the ground up. It's a road full of highs and lows.
Right. And what's fascinating is how Taiwanese society responds to that journey. I remember a friend from Europe who opened a small bakery in a quiet neighborhood. He was terrified that locals wouldn't like his hard, crusty bread. But within weeks, the elderly neighbors, local grandmas and grandpas started coming by. They didn't just buy bread. They would literally bring him home-cooked lunch boxes because they were worried he wasn't eating enough. They gave him a sense of belonging before he even made a profit.
That is so typical of the pure, unconditional kindness here. But you know, Alex, while starting a business is tough, life really tests you when you hit a crisis. True belonging isn't built when you are making money. It's tested when everything falls apart.
That is a very profound point, Sophia. It's about what happens when you hit rock bottom in a place that isn't your birthplace.
Exactly. I remember hearing about a digital creator who fell severely ill, completely alone in his apartment, with his savings depleted. He was at his lowest point, ready to give up and buy a plane ticket back home. But his local landlord noticed he hadn't left the building for days. The landlord knocked on his door, saw he had a burning fever, drove him to a clinic, and paid for his medicine out of his own pocket. And for the next week, the landlord's wife left hot chicken soup outside his door every single day.
Wow. That story always moves me deeply. Honestly, that is the exact definition of unconditional kindness. Kindness given with absolutely no strings attached, expecting nothing in return.
Yes, but this brings up a fascinating question, Alex. We talk about the surface level warmth, the hot soup, the help at the clinic, the neighborly smiles, but how does that kind of deep, consistent care actually change a person's internal mental state over time? How does it alter their psychology?
Wow, that is the million-dollar question, Sophia. And I think the answer lies in a concept we often take for granted: the weight of security. For many foreigners coming from large Western cities, they arrive with a built-in defense mechanism.
Defense mechanism. Let's pause and teach that phrase. A defense mechanism is a psychological or behavioral reaction that a person uses to protect themselves from anxiety, criticism, or danger. It's like putting up an emotional shield.
Exactly. In many places, you always have to be on guard. You keep your guard up because of high crime rates or intense social pressure. But in Taiwan, expats experience this extreme, almost shocking level of physical and mental security.
Oh, it completely shatters their old habits. They realize they can walk down a dark alleyway alone at 2 in the morning without looking over their shoulder. They see people putting their expensive laptops on a cafe table, leaving it completely unattended to go to the restroom for 20 minutes, and nobody touches it.
Right. Or the legendary stories of losing a wallet full of cash in a yellow taxi. A kind of driver drives all the way back to their apartment just to hand it back, Yunfeng Budong. When an expat experiences this repeatedly, something magical happens to their soul. Their defense mechanism, that tight, anxious shield they've carried for decades, finally melts away. They can breathe. Their soul relaxes, and they can finally explore who they truly want to be.
That is so beautiful. It's like their spirit finally feels safe enough to let its guard down. But as they relax and stay longer, another strange phenomenon happens. It's the shift in their cultural identity. They enter this phase where they stop feeling like an outsider or a foreigner, and they start feeling like part of us.
Yes, the transition from them to us. But it comes with a very bittersweet emotional journey, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's what psychologists call the double foreigner or double expat dilemma. It usually hits them when they finally buy a ticket to go back to their home country to visit their family after 3 or 4 years.
Right. They expect it to feel like a warm homecoming, but instead, it feels completely jarring.
Exactly. They arrive in their hometown and suddenly they find themselves feeling deeply uncomfortable. They think, why is everyone in this restaurant talking so loudly? Why is the cashier at the grocery store moving so incredibly slowly? Why does the subway station feel so chaotic and unsafe?
They start experiencing reverse culture shock.
Yes. They sit in their childhood bedroom, looking around, and they realize they are desperately homesick, but they aren't homesick for their native country. They are homesick for their quiet apartment in Taiwan. They miss the convenience. They miss the safety. They miss the gentle manners of the people. And in that quiet, lonely moment of realization, they experience a beautiful sense of closure. They think, oh wow, my home isn't here anymore. My home has officially moved to that small island in the Pacific.
That is such a heavy, powerful moment of self-discovery. It's a mix of grief for their old life, but a massive sense of peace about their new identity. They have officially been assimilated.
Yes, assimilate. To assimilate means to fully integrate, absorb, and become a part of a new culture or society. You don't just live there, your internal identity blends with it.
Right. But Sophia, we have to talk about one of the biggest barriers to assimilation, which is language. A lot of expats struggle with learning Mandarin, and it causes them an immense amount of anxiety and insecurity. They feel like they can't connect deeply because their grammar isn't perfect.
Oh, I hear that all the time. They feel isolated because they think they sound like a child when they speak.
Exactly. But what's so beautiful about Taiwan is how locals react to what we call broken language. In many countries, if you don't speak the native tongue perfectly, people can be impatient or they might ignore you. But here, if an expat walks up to a breakfast shop, auntie, or a traditional market uncle, and tries to stutter out 3 words of broken Mandarin with a terrible accent, the local person's face completely lights up.
They treat you like an absolute superstar.
They really do. Even if the uncle doesn't understand a single word of English, and the expat doesn't know the exact Chinese word, They will stand there for 5 minutes using these wild, energetic hand gestures and broken words, laughing together, desperately trying to communicate.
It is so heartwarming. It proves that real, deep human connection has absolutely nothing to do with perfect grammar or vocabulary. It's about the soul. It's about this pure, mutual desire that says, I see you. You are a human being, and I genuinely want to understand your heart. That completely heals the expat's anxiety.
It really does. It shows that love and empathy can easily bridge any linguistic gap. Now, all of these things we've mentioned, the safety, the reverse culture shock, the deep connections, they all lead to the final, ultimate stage of planting roots. It's when an expat begins to experience major life milestones on this soil.
Yes, the anchor points of a lifetime. When you stay in a country long enough, it stops being a temporary adventure because your history gets written into the concrete of the city.
Right. It's the time when they meet the love of their life here and exchange vows. Or the moment they sit in a Taiwanese hospital room, holding their newborn baby, and realizing that this child is going to grow up speaking fluent, beautiful Mandarin as their native tongue.
It's so profound. Or even the deeply emotional moments, like bringing a pet into your home, raising them, and eventually holding them as they pass away peacefully in a local veterinary clinic. When a piece of land begins to hold your deepest grief, your greatest joys, your family memories, and your lifelong commitments, the abstract concept of home completely solidifies. It takes a permanent shape.
It really does. The island becomes part of your cellular memory. You can look at a specific street corner in Taipei or a mountain path in Nantou and say, that is where my life changed forever.
Well, I mean, honestly, when you look at the whole picture, it's just a beautiful mutual exchange. We often talk about what foreigners bring to Taiwan, their global ideas, their creative energy, but what Taiwan gives them in return is something sacred. It gives them a sanctuary to heal, to drop their defenses, and to discover the truest version of themselves.
Beautifully said. Sophia, Taiwan doesn't just adopt them, it heals them. To our listeners out there, whether you are a local Taiwanese person practicing your English or an expat listening from your home here on the island, we want to say thank you. Thank you for being the open, loving community that makes these beautiful life transformations possible every single day.
Yes, thank you so much. We would truly love to hear your personal stories in the comments section today. If you are an expat, what was your specific turning point? When did you realize your home had shifted to this island? And what was an act of unconditional kindness that completely dropped your defenses?
And for our local listeners, how do you try to make the strangers in your neighborhood feel like they belong to us? Let's create a beautiful archive of stories in the comments today.
Before we say goodbye, let's quickly remember today's key emotional and psychological vocabulary: entrepreneurial journey, defense mechanism, assimilate, and unconditional kindness. Use these words to talk about your own life journeys.
Thank you for sharing this quiet, meaningful episode of Formosa Chat with us. We will be back with our usual fun topics next time, but we are so grateful for this moment of reflection with you all.
Take care of your hearts. Remember to drink plenty of warm water and keep looking out for one another.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.